Thank you for coming back. Segment 3. On with the story. Genesis 25, verse 1. Furthermore, Abraham again took a wife, and her name was Keturah. In time she bore him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shuan. And Jokshan became father to Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan became Ashurim, and Letushim, and Leumim. And the sons of Midian were Ephah, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abidah, and Eldiah. All these were the sons of Keturah. Later on, Abraham gave everything he had to Isaac. But to the sons of the concubines that Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts. Then he sent them away from Isaac his son, while he was still alive, eastward, to the land of the east. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 175 years. And then Abraham expired and died in a good old age, and satisfied, and was gathered to his people. So Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar, the Hittite, that is in front of Mamre, the field that Abraham had purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried, and also Sarah his wife. And it developed that after Abraham's death, God continued to bless Isaac his son. And Isaac was dwelling close by Beer-la-Hairoi. And this is the history of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, who Hagar, the Egyptian, the maidservant of Sarah, bore to Abraham. Now these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their family origins. Ishmael's firstborn, Nebaioth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Hadad, and Tamar, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their courtyards and by their walled camps, 12 chieftains according to their clans. And these are the years of the Ishmael's life, 137 years. Then he expired and died, and was gathered to his people. And they took up tabernacling from Havilah near Shur, which is in front of Egypt as far as Assyria. In front of all his brothers he settled down. And this is the history of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Abraham became father to Isaac, and Isaac happened to be 40 years old at his taking Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian, as his wife. And Isaac kept on entreating Jehovah, especially for his wife, because she was barren. So Jehovah let himself be entreated for him, and Rebekah his wife became pregnant. And the sons within her began to struggle with each other, so that she said, "If this is the way it is, just why am I alive?" With that she went to inquire of Jehovah. And Jehovah proceeded to say to her, 2 nations are in your belly, and 2 national groups will be separated from your inward parts. And the one national group will be stronger than the other national group, and the older will serve the younger. Gradually her days came to the full for giving birth, and look, twins were in her belly. Then the first came out red all over, like an official garment of hair. So they called his name Esau. And after that his brother came out, and his hand was holding on to the heel of Esau. So he called his name Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old at her giving them birth. And the boys got bigger, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field, but Jacob a blameless man dwelling in tents. And Isaac had love for Esau, because it meant game in his mouth, whereas Rebekah was a lover of Jacob. Once Jacob was boiling up some stew when Esau came along from the field, and he was tired. So Esau said to Jacob, "Quick, please, give me a swallow of the red there, for I am tired." That is why his name was called Edom. To this Jacob said, "Sell me first all your rights as firstborn." And Esau continued, "Here I am simply going to die, and of what benefit to me is a birthright?" And Jacob added, "Swear to me first of all." And he proceeded to swear to him and to sell his right as firstborn to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he went to eating and drinking. Then he got up and went his way. So Esau despised the birthright. Now there arose a famine in the land, besides the first famine that occurred in the days of Abraham, so that Isaac directed himself to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, to Gerar. Then Jehovah appeared to him and said, Do not go down to Egypt, tabernacle in the land that I designate to you. Reside as an alien in this land, and I shall continue with you and bless you, because to you and to your seed I shall give all these lands, and I will carry out the sworn statement that I swore to Abraham your father, and I will multiply your seed like the stars of the heavens, and I will give to your seed all these lands, and by means of your seed all nations of the earth will certainly bless themselves due to the fact that Abraham listened to my voice and continued to keep his obligations to me, my commands, my statutes, and my laws. So Isaac went on, dwelling at Gerar. Well, the man of the place kept asking with respect to his wife, and he would say, She is my sister. For he was afraid to say my wife, for fear that, to quote him, the men of the place should kill me because of Rebekah, because she was attractive in appearance. So it came about that as his days there extended themselves, Abimelech, king of Philistines, was looking out of the window and taking in the sight. And there was Isaac having a good time with Rebekah, his wife. At once Abimelech called Isaac and said, Why, she is no other than your wife. So how is it that you said, She is my sister? At this Isaac said to him, I said it for her. I said it for fear I should die on her account. But Abimelech continued, What is this you have done to us? A little more, and certainly one of the people would have lain down with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. Then Abimelech commanded all the people, saying, Anybody touching this man and his wife will surely be put to death. Afterward Isaac began to sow seed in that land. In that year he was getting up to 100 measures to one, as Jehovah was blessing him. Consequently the man became great, and went on advancing more and more, and growing great until he got very great. And he came to have flocks of sheep and herds of cattle, and a large body of servants, so that the Philistines began to envy him. As for all the wells that the servants of his father had dug in the days of Abraham his father, these the Philistines stopped up, and they would fill them with dry earth. Finally Abimelech said to Isaac, Move from our neighborhood, because you have grown far stronger than we are. So Isaac moved from there and encamped in the torrent valley of Gerar, and took up dwelling there. And Isaac proceeded to dig again the wells of water that they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, but which the Philistines went stopping up after Abraham's death. And he resumed calling their names by the names that his father had called them. And the servants of Isaac went on digging in the torrent valley, and so they found there a well of fresh water. And the shepherds of Gerar fell to quarreling with the shepherds of Isaac, saying, The water is ours. Hence he called the name of the well Esek, because they had contended with him. And they went digging another well, and they fell to quarreling over it also. Hence he called its name Sitnah. Later he moved away from there and dug another well, but they did not quarrel over it. Hence he called its name Rehoboth, and said, It is because now Jehovah has given us ample room, and has made us fruitful in the earth. Then he went up from there to Beersheba. Jehovah proceeded to appear to him during that night, and to say, I am the God of Abraham your father. Do not be afraid, because I am with you, and I will bless you and multiply your seed on account of Abraham my servant. Accordingly he built an altar there, and called on the name of Jehovah, and pitched his tent there. And the servants of Isaac went excavating a well there. Later on Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, his confidential friend, and Phicol, the chief of his army. At this Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you yourselves hated me, so sent me away from your own neighborhood?" To this they said, "We have unmistakably seen that Jehovah has proved to be with you. Hence we said, let please an oath of obligation occur between us and you, and let us conclude a covenant with you, that you will do nothing bad toward us, just as we have not touched you, and just as we have done only good toward you, in that we sent you away in peace. You now are the blessed of Jehovah." Then he made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Next morning they were early in rising, and they made sworn statements, one to the other. After that Isaac sent them away, and they went from him in peace. Now on that day it occurred that the servants of Isaac proceeded to come and report to him regarding the well that they had dug, and to say to him, "We have found water." Hence he called its name Sheba. That is why the name of the city is Beersheba, down to this day. And Esau grew to be 40 years old. Then he took as wife Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and also Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they were a source of bitterness of spirit to Isaac and Rebekah. Now it came about that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, he then called Esau his older son, and said to him, "My son," at which he said to him, "Here I am." And he went on to say, "Here now I have become old. I do not know the day of my death. So at this time take please your implements, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt some venison for me. Then make me a tasty dish such as I am fond of, and bring it to me, and let me eat, in order that my soul may bless you before I die." However, Rebekah was listening while Isaac spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went on out into the field to hunt game and to bring it in. And Rebekah said to Jacob her son, "Here I just heard your father speaking to Esau your brother, saying, 'Bring me some game and make it tasty and dish, and let me eat, and I may bless you before Jehovah before my death.' And now, my son, listen to my voice in what I am commanding you. Go please to the herd and get me from there 2 kids of the goats, good ones, that I may make them up into a tasty dish for your father, such as he is fond of. Then you must bring it to your father, and he must eat in order that he may bless you before his death." And Jacob proceeded to say to Rebekah his mother, "But Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. What if my father feels me? Then I shall certainly become in his eyes like one making a mockery, and I shall certainly bring upon myself a malediction and not a blessing." At this his mother said to him, "Upon me be the malediction meant for you, my son. Only listen to my voice and go. Get them for me." Accordingly he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father was fond of. After that Rebekah took garments of Esau, her older son, the most desirable ones which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the kids of the goats she put upon his hands, and upon the hairless part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish, then the bread that she had made, into the hand of Jacob her son. So he went on to his father and said, "My father," to which he said, "Here I am." "Who are you, my son?" And Jacob went on to say to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you have spoken to me. Raise yourself up, please. Sit down and eat some of my game, in order that your soul may bless me." And that Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have been so quick in finding it, my son?" In turn he said, "Because Jehovah your God caused it to meet up with me." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near, please, that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob came near to Isaac his father, and he went feeling him, after which he said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him. And because his hands proved to be hairy like the hands of Esau, his brother, hence he blessed him. After that he said, "You are really my son Esau?" To which he said, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it near to me that I may eat some of the game of my son, to the end that my soul may bless you." With that he brought it near to him, and he began to eat. And he brought him wine, and he began to drink. Then Isaac his father said to him, "Come near, please, and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him, and he could smell the scent of his garments. And he proceeded to bless him, and to say, "See, the scent of my son is like the scent of the field which Jehovah has blessed. And may the true God give you the dews of the heavens and the fertile soils of the earth, and an abundance of grain and new wine. Let people serve you, and let national groups bow low to you. Become master over your brothers, and let the sons of your mother bow low to you. Cursed be each one of those cursing you, and blessed be each one of those blessing you." Now it came about, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, yes, it indeed came about when Jacob had barely come out from before the face of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came back from his hunting, and he too went about making a tasty dish. Then he brought it to his father, and said to his father, "Let my father get up and eat some of his son's game, in order that your soul may bless me." At this Isaac his father said to him, "Who are you?" To which he said, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." And Isaac began to shake with a great trembling in extreme measure. And so he said, "Who then was it that hunted for game and came bringing it to me, so that I ate of everything before you could come in, and I blessed him? Blessed too he will become." On hearing his father's words, Esau began to cry out in an extremely loud and bitter manner, and to say to his father, "Bless me, even me too, my father." But he went on to say, "Your brother came with deception, that he might get the blessing meant for you." At this he said, "Is that not why his name is called Jacob, in that he should supplant me these 2 times? My birthright he has already taken, and here at this time he has taken my blessing." Then he added, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" But in answer to Esau, Isaac continued, "Here I have appointed him master over you, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and grain and new wine I have bestowed for his support. And where is there anything I can do for you, my son?" Then Esau said to his father, "Is there just one blessing that you have, my father? Bless me, even me too, my father." With that Esau raised his voice and burst into tears. So in answer Isaac his father said to him, "Behold, away from the fertile soils of the earth your dwelling will be found, and away from the dew of the heavens above. And by your sword you will live, and your brother you will serve. But it will certainly occur that when you grow restless you will indeed break his yoke off your neck." However, Esau harbored animosity for Jacob on account of the blessing with which his father had blessed him, and Esau kept saying in his heart, "The days of the period of mourning for my father are getting closer. After that I am going to kill Jacob, my brother." When the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah, she at once sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "Look, Esau your brother is comforting himself in regard to kill you. You now then, my son, listen to my voice and get up. Run away to Laban, my brother, at Haran, and you must dwell with him for some days, until the rage of your brother calms down, until the anger of your brother turns away from you, and he has forgotten what you have done to him. And I shall certainly send and get you from there. Why should I be bereaved also of both of you in one day?" After that Rebekah kept saying to Isaac, I have come to abhor this life of mine because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob ever takes a wife from the daughters of Heth like these, from the daughters of the land, of what good is life to me?" Consequently Isaac called Jacob and blessed him, and commanded him, and said to him, "You must not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Get up, go to Padanaram to the house of Bethuel, the father of your mother, and from there take yourself a wife from the daughters of Laban, the brother of your mother, and God Almighty will bless you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and you will certainly become a congregation of peoples. And he will give to you the blessing of Abraham, to you and to your seed with you, that you may take possession of the land of your alien residences, which God has given to Abraham. So Isaac sent Jacob away, and he struck out for Padanaram for Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and had sent him away to Padanaram to take from there a wife for himself, and that when he blessed him, he laid the command upon him, saying, Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, and that Jacob was obeying his father and his mother, and was on his way to Padanaram. Then Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan were displeasing in the eyes of Isaac his father. Hence Esau went to Ishmael, and took as wife Mahalath, and the daughter of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, the sister of Nabaloth, besides his other wives. And Jacob continued on his way out from Beersheba, and kept going to Haran. In time he came across a place and set about spending the night there, because the sun had set. So he took one of the stones of the place and set it as his head supporter, and lay down in that place. And he began to dream, and look, there was a ladder stationed upon the earth, and its top reaching up to the heavens. And look, there were God's angels ascending and descending on it. And look, there was Jehovah stationed above it. And he proceeded to say, I am Jehovah, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land upon which you are lying, to you I am going to give it, and to your seed. And your seed will certainly become like the dust particles of the earth, and you will certainly spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south, and by means of you and by means of your seed all the families of the ground will certainly bless themselves. And here I am with you, and I will keep you in all the way you are going, and I will return you to this ground, because I am not going to leave you until I have actually done what I have spoken to you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Truly Jehovah is in this place, and I myself did not know it. And he grew fearful and added, How fear-inspiring this place is! This is nothing else but the house of God. This is the gate of the heavens. So Jacob got up early in the morning and took the stone that was there as his head supporter, and he set it up as a pillar, then poured oil on the top of it. Further he called the name of that place Bethel. But the fact is, Luz was the city's name formerly. And Jacob went on to vow a vow, saying, If God will continue with me, and will certainly keep me on this way, on which I am going, and will certainly give me bread to eat and garments to wear, I shall certainly return in peace to the house of my father, then Jehovah will have proved to be my God. And this stone that I have set up as a pillar will become a house of God. And as for everything that you will give me, I shall without fail give the 10th of it to you. After that Jacob set his feet in motion and traveled on to the land of the Orientals. Now he looked, and here there was a well in the field, and there 3 droves of sheep were lying down there by it, because from that well they were accustomed to water the droves, and there was a great stone over the mouth of the well. When all the droves had been gathered there, they rolled away the stone from off the mouth of the well, and they watered the flocks, after which they returned the stone over the mouth of the well to its place. So Jacob said to them, My brothers, from what place are you? To which they said, We are from Haran. Then he said to them, Do you know Laban, the grandson of Nahor? To which they said, "We know him." At this he said to them, Is it all right with him?" In turn, they said, "It is all right. And here is Rachel, his daughter, coming with the sheep." And he went on to say, "Why, it is yet full day. Is it not the time for gathering the herds? Water the sheep," they said. "We are not allowed to do so until all the droves are gathered, and they actually roll away the stone from off the mouth of the well. Then we must water the sheep." While he was yet speaking with them, Rachel came with the sheep that belonged to her father, for she was a shepherdess. And it came about that when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob immediately approached and rolled away the stone from off the mouth of the well and watered the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and raised his voice and burst into tears. And Jacob began to tell Rachel that he was the brother of his father, and that he was the son of Rebekah. And she went running and telling her father. Now it came about that as soon as Laban heard the report about Jacob, the son of his sister, he went running to meet him. Then he embraced him and kissed him and brought him on into his house. And he began to relate to Laban all these things. After that, Laban said to him, "You are indeed my bone and my flesh." So he dwelt with him a full month. After that, Laban said to Jacob, "Are you my brother, and must you serve me for nothing? Tell me, what are your wages to be?" As it was, Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. But the eyes of Leah had no luster, whereas Rachel had become beautiful in form and beautiful of countenance, and Jacob was in love with Rachel. So he said, "I am willing to serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." To this Laban said, "It is better for me to give her to you than for me to give her to another man. Keep dwelling with me." And Jacob proceeded to serve 7 years for Rachel, but in his eyes they proved to be like some few days because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give over my wife, because my days are up, and let me have relations with her." With that, Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. But it turned out that during that evening he resorted to taking Leah, his daughter, and bringing her to him, that he might have relations with her. Moreover, Laban gave to her Zilpah, his maidservant, even to Leah, his daughter, as a maidservant. So it followed in the morning that here it was Leah. Consequently, he said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? Why is it not for Rachel that I served you? Was it not for Rachel that I served with you? So why have you tricked me?" To this Laban said, "It is not customary to do this in our place, to give the younger woman before the firstborn. Celebrate to the full the week of this woman. After that there shall be given to you also the other woman, for the service that you can serve with me for 7 more years." Accordingly Jacob did so, and celebrated fully the week of this woman, after which he gave him Rachel his daughter as his wife. Besides, Laban gave Bilhah his maidservant to Rachel, his daughter, as her maidservant. Then he had relations also with Rachel, and also expressed more love for Rachel than for Leah, and he went serving with him for yet 7 years more. When Jehovah came to see that Leah was hated, he then opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah became pregnant and brought a son to birth, and then called his name Reuben. For she said, "It is because Jehovah has looked upon my wretchedness, in that now my husband will begin to love me." She became pregnant again and brought a son to birth, and then said, "It is because Jehovah has listened, in that I was hated, and so he gave me also this one." Hence she called his name Simeon. And she became pregnant yet again and brought a son to birth. And then said, "Now this time my husband will join himself to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. His name was therefore called Levi. And she became pregnant once more and brought a son to birth. And then said, "This time I shall load Jehovah." She therefore called his name Judah. After that she left off giving birth. When Rachel came to see that she had borne nothing to Jacob, Rachel got jealous of her sister and began to say to Jacob, "Give me children, or otherwise I shall be a dead woman." At this Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God, who has held back the fruit of the belly from you?" So she said, Here is my slave girl Bilhah. Have relations with her, that she may give birth upon my knees, and that I may get children from her. With that she gave him Bilhah, her maidservant, as wife. And Jacob had relations with her. And Bilhah became pregnant, and in time bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has acted as my judge, and has also listened to my voice, so that he gave me a son. That is why she called his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, became pregnant once more, and in time bore a second son to Jacob. Then Rachel said, with strenuous wrestlings, I have wrestled with my sister. I have also come off winner. So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah came to see that she had left off giving birth, she proceeded to take Zilpah, her maidservant, to give her to Jacob as wife. In time Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, bore a son to Jacob. Then Leah said, with good fortune. So she called his name Gad. After that Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, bore a second son to Jacob. Then Leah said, with my happiness for the daughters will certainly pronounce me happy. So she called his name Asher. Now Reuben went walking in the days of the wheat harvest, and got to find mandrakes in the field. So he brought them to Leah his mother. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, please, some of your son's mandrakes. At this she said to her, Is this a little thing, your having taken my husband, with you now taking also my son's mandrakes? So Rachel said, For that reason he is going to lie down with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes. When Jacob was coming from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him, and then said, It is with me you are going to have relations, because I have hired you outright with my son's mandrakes. Accordingly she lay down with her that night. And God heard and answered Leah, and she became pregnant, and in time bore to Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, God has given me a hireling's wages, because I have given my maidservant to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. And Leah became pregnant once more, and in time bore a sixth son to Jacob. Then Leah said, God has endowed me, yes, me, with a good endowment. At last my husband will tolerate me, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bore a daughter, and then called her name Dinah. Finally God remembered Rachel, and God heard and answered her in that he opened her womb. She became pregnant and brought a son to birth. Then she said, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, saying, Jehovah is adding another son to me. And it followed that when Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob immediately said to Laban, Send me away, that I may go to my place and to my country. Give over my wives and my children for whom I have served with you, that I may go, for you yourself must know my service, which I have rendered you. Then Laban said to him, If now I have found favor in your eyes, I have taken the omens to the effect that Jehovah is blessing me due to you. And he added, Stipulate your wages to me, and I shall give them. So he said to him, You yourself must know how I have served you, and how your herd has fared with me. That it was little that you actually had before my coming, and it went expanding to a multitude, and that Jehovah blessed you since I stepped in. So now, when am I to do something also for my own house? Then he said, What shall I give you? And Jacob went on to say, You will give me nothing whatsoever, if you will do this thing for me. I shall resume shepherding your flock. I shall continue guarding it. I will pass among your whole flock today. You set aside from there every sheep speckled with color and patches, and every dark brown sheep among the young rams, and any color patched and speckled one among the she-goats. Hereafter such must be my wages, and my right doing must answer for me on whatever future day you may come to look over my wages. Everyone that is not speckled and color-patched among the she-goats and dark brown among the young rams is something stolen if it is with me." To this Laban said, "Why, that is fine. Let it be according to your word." Then he set aside on that day the he-goats striped and color-patched, and all the she-goats speckled and color-patched, every one in which there was any white, and every one dark brown among the young rams. But he gave them over into the hands of his sons. After that he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob was shepherding the flocks of Laban that remained over. Then Jacob took for his use staffs still moist of the storax tree and the almond tree, and of the plane tree, and peeled in them white peeled spots by laying bare white places which were upon the staffs. Finally the staffs that he had peeled he placed in front of the flock, in the gutters, in the water drinking troughs, where the flocks would come to drink, that they might get into a heap before them when they came to drink. Consequently the flocks would get in heat before the staffs, and the flocks would produce striped, speckled, and colored-patched ones. And Jacob separated the young rams, and then turned the faces of the flocks to the striped ones, and all the dark brown ones among the flocks of Laban. Then he set his own droves by themselves. He did not set them by the flocks of Laban. And it always occurred that whenever the robust flocks would get in heat, Jacob would locate the staffs in the gutters before the eyes of the flocks, that they might get in heat by the staffs. But when the flocks showed feebleness, he would not locate them there. So the feeble ones always came to be Laban's, but the robust ones Jacob's. And the man went on, increasing more and more, and great flocks and maidservants and menservants and camels and asses came to be his. In time he got to hear the words of the sons of Laban, saying, "Jacob has taken everything that belonged to our father, and from what belonged to our father he has amassed all this wealth." When Jacob would look at the face of Laban, here it was not with him as formerly. Finally Jehovah said to Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I shall continue with you." Then Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah out to the field to his flock, and he said to them, "I am seeing the face of your father, that he is not the same toward me as formerly, but the God of my father has proved to be with me. And you yourselves certainly know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father has trifled with me, and he has changed my wages 10 times, but God has not allowed him to do me harm. If on the one hand he would say, 'The speckled ones will become your wages,' then the whole flock produced speckled ones. But if on the other hand he would say, 'The striped ones will become your wages,' then the whole flock produced striped ones. So God kept taking the herd of your father away and giving it to me. At last it came about, at the time when the flock got in heat, that I raised my eyes and saw a sight in a dream, and here the he-goats springing upon the flock were striped, speckled, and spotty. Then the angel of the true God said to me in the dream, 'Jacob,' to which I said, 'Here I am.' And he continued, 'Raise your eyes, please, and see all the he-goats springing upon the flock are striped, speckled, and spotty, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the true God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, and where you vowed a vow to me. Now get up, go out of this land, and return to the land of your birth.' At this Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, 'Is there a share of inheritance for us any more in the house of our father? Are we not really considered as foreigners to him, since he has sold us? so that he keeps eating continually, even from the money given for us? For all the riches that God has taken away from our father are ours and our children's. So now everything God has said to you, do." Then Jacob got up and lifted his children and his wives onto the camels, and he began driving all his herd and all the goods that he had accumulated, the herd of his acquisition, that he had accumulated in Padanaram, in order to go to Isaac his father, to the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep. Meantime Rachel stole the teraphim that belonged to her father. So Jacob outwitted Laban the Syrian, because he had not told him that he was running away. And he proceeded to run away, and to get up and cross the river. He had all he had. After that he directed his face to the mountainous region of Gilead. Later on the third day it was told to Laban that Jacob had run away. With that he took his brothers with him, and went chasing after him for a distance of 7 days, journeying, caught up with him in the mountainous region of Gilead. Then God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said to him, "Watch yourself that you do not go speaking either good or bad with Jacob." So Laban approached Jacob, and as Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountain, and Laban had encamped his brothers in the mountainous region of Gilead, then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done, in that you resorted to outwitting me, and driving my daughter off like captives taken by the sword? Why did you have to run away secretly, and outwit me, and not tell me, that I might send you away with rejoicing, and with songs, with tambourine, and with harp? And you did not give me a chance to kiss my children and my daughters. Now you have acted foolishly. It is in the power of my hand to do harm to you people, but the God of your father talked to me last night, saying, 'Watch yourself against speaking either good or bad with Jacob,' while you have actually gone now, because you have been yearning intensely for the house of your father. Why, though, have you stolen my gods?" In answer, Jacob proceeded to say to Laban, "It was because I was afraid, for I said it to myself, you might tear your daughters away from me. Whoever it is with whom you may find your gods, let him not live. Before our brothers, examine for yourself what is with me, and take them for yourself." But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went on into the tent of Jacob, and into the tent of Leah, and into the tent of the 2 slave girls, but did not find them. Finally he went out of Leah's tent, and went on into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim, and she resorted to putting them in the woman's saddle basket of the camel, and she kept sitting upon them. So Laban went, feeling through the whole tent, but did not find them. Then she said to her father, "Do not let anger gleam in the eyes of my lord, because I am not able to get up before you, for the customary thing with women is upon me." So he searched on carefully, but did not find the teraphim. And Jacob became angry and began to quarrel with Laban. And in answer Jacob went on to say to Laban, "What is the revolt on my part? What the sin of mine as a reason why you have hotly pursued after me? Now that you have felt through all my goods, what of all the goods of your house have you found? Put it here in front of my brothers and your brothers, and let them decide between us 2. These 20 years I have been with you. Your female sheep and your she-goats did not suffer abortions, and the rams of your flock I never ate. An animal torn to pieces I did not bring to you. I myself would stand the loss of time. Whether one was stolen by day or was stolen by night, you might put in a claim for it from my hand. It has been my experience that by day the heat consumed me, and the cold by night, and my sleep would flee from my eyes. This makes 20 years for me in your house. I have served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you kept changing my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the dread of Isaac had not proved on my side, you would now have sent me away empty-handed. My wretchedness and the toil of my hands God has seen, and so he reproved you last night. Then Laban in answer said to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, and the children my children, and the flock my flock, and everything you are looking at is mine, and my daughters. What can I do against these today, or against their children whom they have borne? And now, come, let us conclude a covenant, I and you, and it must serve as a witness between me and you. Accordingly Jacob took a stone, and set it up as a pillar. Then Jacob said to his brothers, pick up stones. And they went, taking stones, and making a heap after that. They ate there on the heap. And Laban began calling it Jagar-Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban proceeded to say, this heap is a witness between me and you today. That is why he called its name Gilead. And the watchtower, because he said, let Jehovah keep watch between me and you, when we are situated unseen, the one from the other. If you go to afflicting my daughters, and if you go to taking wives in addition to my daughters, there is no man with us, see? God is a witness between me and you. And Laban went on to say to Jacob, here is this heap, and here is the pillar that I have erected between me and you. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is something that bears witness that I will not pass this heap against you, and that you will not pass this heap and this pillar against me for harm. Let the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor judge between us, the God of their father. But Jacob swore by the dread of his father Isaac. After that, Jacob sacrificed a sacrifice in the mountain, and invited his brothers to eat bread. Accordingly they ate bread and passed the night in the mountain. However, Laban got up early in the morning and kissed his children and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban got on his way, that he might return to his own place. And as for Jacob, he got on his way, and with the angels of God now met up with him. Immediately Jacob said, when he saw them, the camp of God this is. Hence he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to Esau his brother, to the land of Seir, the field of Edom, and he commanded them, saying, this is what you will say to my lord, to Esau. This is what your servant Jacob has said. With Laban I have resided as an alien, and I have stayed for a long time till now. And I have come to have bulls and asses, sheep and menservants and maidservants, and I would like to send to notify my lord, that I may find favor in his eyes. In time the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we got to your brother Esau, and he is also on his way to meet you, and 400 men with him. And Jacob became very much afraid, and grew anxious. So he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks, and the cattle, and the camels into 2 camps. And he said, if Esau should come to the one camp, and assault it, then there is certain to be a camp remaining to make an escape. After that Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Jehovah, you who are saying to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I will deal well with you. I am unworthy of all the loving kindnesses and of all the faithfulness that you have exercised toward your servant. For with but my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Deliver me, I pray you, from my brother's hand, from Esau's hand, because I am afraid of him, that he may come and certainly assault me, mother together with children. And you have said unquestionably, I shall deal well with you, and I will constitute your seed with the grains of the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he kept lodging there on that night, and from what came to his hand he proceeded to take a gift for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 female sheep and 20 rams, 30 camels giving suck, and their young ones, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 full-grown asses. Then he handed over to his servants one drove after another by itself, and repeatedly said to his servants, "Cross over ahead of me, and you are to set an interval between drove and drove." Further he commanded the first one, saying, "In case that Esau my brother should meet you, and ask you, saying, 'To whom do you belong, and where are you going, and to whom do these ahead of you belong?' then you must say to your servant to Jacob, 'A gift it is, sent to my lord, to Esau, and look, be he himself is also behind us.'" And he went on to command also the second, also the third, also all those following the droves, saying, "According to this word you are to speak to Esau on your encountering him. And you must say also, 'Here is your servant Jacob behind us.' For he said to himself, 'I may appease him by the gift going ahead of me, and afterward I shall see his face. Perhaps he will give a kindly reception.' So that the gift went crossing over ahead of him, but he himself lodged that night in the camp. Later during that night he rose and took his 2 wives and his 2 maidservants and his 11 young sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. So he took them and brought them over the torrent valley, and he brought over what he had. Finally Jacob was left by himself. Then a man began to grapple with him until the dawn ascended. When he got to see that he had not prevailed over him, then he touched the socket of his thigh joint, and the socket of Jacob's thigh joint got out of place during his grappling with him. After that he said, "Let me go, for the dawn has ascended." To this he said, "I am not going to let you go until you first bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" To which he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have contended with God and with men, so that you at last prevailed." And in turn Jacob inquired and said, "Tell me, please, your name." However, he said, "Why is it that you inquire for my name?" With that he blessed him there. Hence Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, because, to quote him, "I have seen God face to face, and yet my soul was delivered." And the sun began to flash upon him as soon as he passed by Peniel, but he was limping upon his thigh. That is why the sons of Israel are not accustomed to eat the sinew of the thigh nerve, which is on the socket of the thigh joint, down to this day, because he touched the socket of Jacob's thigh joint by the sinew of the thigh nerve. Well, I'm going to stop there. Next we'll be starting at Genesis chapter 33. Thanks for listening. Please come back.